no por llegar a este país con un sueño, pero por hacerlo realidad. Y estamos aquí y aquí nos vamos a estar. You are here today for a reason. Because you have a concern against this project. Pero hay personas a favor, and there's also people that are in favor of it. We are here to educate the community, our community. Estamos aquí para educar la comunidad, nuestra comunidad. En este tema tan serio y devastador. As you know, the city of Joliet wants to build a for-profit immigrant prison here in Joliet. Como ustedes se han dado cuenta, la ciudad de Joliet quiere edificar una prisión de detención de migrantes con fines de lucro, for profit. Es algo que debemos de poner mucha atención. It's something that we have to pay close attention. Because it will change our lives, the way we live, the way we work, the way we educate, and even a way of thinking. And now, I would like to present, y ahora me gustaría presentar al sacerdote José Cilia, de aquí de Monte Carmelo. Vamos a darle un aplauso.
Dios nuestro Padre, el Padre de Abraham, de Isaac y de Jacob. God, our Father, the Father of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. Usted, tú también, has visto que el rey Herodes quería matar al niño Jesús. God our Father, you have seen, and you are with them, that King Herod wanted to kill the baby Jesus. Y entonces ordenaste al ángel para avisar a José a llevar a María y Jesús el niño a Egipto. You have seen that the king wanted to kill the baby Jesus, and so you have sent an angel who told Joseph, go, take the baby and his mother to Egypt. El Señor es el dueño de todas las naciones. No hay fronteras para Dios. The Lord is the owner of all the lands and countries in the whole world. But he sent his son to Egypt, and he stayed there for years. Without documents, Joseph, Mary, and Jesus went to Egypt. María, José y el niño han ido a Egipto. No tenían documentos y ahí han estado por mucho tiempo, años, según nos dice el Evangelio. Y por eso queremos pedirte ayudar a estos hermanos nuestros. And we ask you, Lord, to help these brothers and sisters of ours and encourage them not to be afraid. Te pedimos humildemente, Señor, da a estos hermanos nuestros, hombres y mujeres, la ayuda y el ánimo para seguir adelante. La razón y el por qué nosotros estamos en este lugar es que ninguno de nosotros es un papel y todos tenemos el derecho a ser tratados como seres humanos. All of us know that we are not papers. We have our human dignity, our rights. We have eyes to see the needs that have to be done. We have hands to work. We have feet to go from one place to another. Nosotros tenemos ojos para ver lo que hay que hacer. Tenemos manos para trabajar. Tenemos pies para ir de un lugar a otro. You can see this wonderful and beautiful hall, helped with so many undocumented who don't even know to read or speak English. But look at the work done, thanks to them and to their efforts, and free. Ustedes pueden admirar de este salón y viendo como muchos que trabajaron acá gratuitamente, sin recibir ningún sueldo, pero ellos ayudaron y hicieron todo lo posible, muchos de ellos sin saber inglés y sin saber escribir o leer. We all have the rights and the dignity as human beings. In the Bible, if we listen to the Lord, He says that we are His temple, and be careful not to destroy my temple, the body. El Señor nos dice en la Sagrada Escritura que Él nos hizo su templo, el templo de Dios, la persona. Ten cuidado de no destruir mi templo. Nosotros, las personas, no necesitamos cárceles. Es suficiente que muchos de nosotros ya están en prisión dentro de sí mismos, sin poder hablar, sin poder manejar, nerviosos y tensos, donde vayan. We see so many people who don't need a prison, because many people feel that they are already in prison, full of fear. They cannot drive, they have no documents, and wherever they go, they are with tension and depressed and looking from one place to another. Who is going after them? We do not need prisons. If they want to spend money, let them spend the money in other things. Nosotros no necesitamos cárcel, lo que necesitamos es fuentes de trabajo. Muchas gracias.
Les puedo pedir a todas las personas que si hay una silla a su lado que esté vacía, que levanten la mano, por favor. Y las personas que están atrás, que no están sentadas, pueden venir a sentarse, y hay sillas a este lado también, por favor, pasen.
por favor a tomar asiento. Gracias. Please have a seat. We want to thank the people that are here, our dignitaries from Joliet. Quiero darle las gracias a los dignatarios de Joliet, al señor Tom Sanas, el manager de la ciudad de Joliet, Pastor Craig Purchase, Mount Zion Tabernacle Church, el pastor Pastor Craig Purchase, de la iglesia Mount Zion Tabernacle, Father Raymond Letcher, pastor of Sacred Heart Church, el padre Raymond Letcher, de la iglesia Sagrado Corazón. El padre José Cilia de Monte Carmelo. Los miembros de la ciudad de Joliet, our city council members, please stand and introduce yourself to the city council members. Mr. Bob Waterford and Mr. Larry Hunt. Thank you. Father Fred Recchi, pastor from St. John the Baptist Church. El padre Fred Recchi, de la iglesia Juan Bautista. Father Pete Jankowski from St. Pat. El padre Pedro Jankowski de la iglesia de San Patricio.
Thank you.
Father Ray Corkery from Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Sorry about that. Pastor Kirk Brooks Jr. from St. John's Missionary Church. County board member, el miembro del concilio.
All right, next, I want to thank the Diocese of Joliet. They drafted a letter for support against this for-profit detention center. So I want to bring up the representative that's going to talk a little about that. Tom Garland, please come up here. Give him a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. Let me begin with the scripture verse. Genesis 1:27. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. This scripture verse lets us know that we are created in the image of God. Each of us. Young or old, rich or poor, brown, black, or white, documented or undocumented. Because we are created in the image of God, every human being has a certain dignity which we must all seek to protect from any and every threat. The threat to human dignity we face this evening is the proposed for-profit immigrant prison in Joliet. As early as 2000, the U.S. bishops expressed concern about the rise of for-profit prisons. Allow me to read from their statement in small part. The bishops write, "We are concerned about the rise in for-profit private prisons because previous attempts to introduce the profit motive into prisons have failed to respect the fundamental human dignity of every person. We recognize the fundamental human dignity of prisoners and are troubled by the documented level of violence against prisoners in private prisons. Prisoners are persons with inherent God-given dignity. When prisoners become units for which profit is derived, there is a tendency to see them as commodities rather than as children of God. Our troubled times have taught us that once people are dehumanized, they are more liable to be exploited, abused, and violated. We recognize the inherent dignity of labor and are troubled by the working conditions and wages of those entrusted with the care of prisoners in private facilities. In order to reduce costs and maximize profits, private prisons redistribute their operational costs, with less money going to those employees who work directly with prisoners and more to executives and shareholders. We bishops do not agree that paying private prison staff lower wages than public employees receive or cutting their numbers advances the common good or just treatment of prisoners. We note that some state and local governments have canceled private prison contracts because of insufficient staff and management. We are even more deeply troubled that the private prison industry has actively supported institutions that lobby for harsher sentencing laws and punitive immigration laws, which increase the prison population. We believe that private prisons confront us with serious moral issues and mandate a gospel response. To deprive other persons of their freedom, to restrict them from contact with other human beings, to force them against them up to and including, to use force upon them up to and including deadly force, are the most serious of acts. To delegate such acts to institutions whose success depends on the amount of profit they generate is to invite abuse and to abdicate our responsibility to care for our sisters and brothers. Since it appears that private prisons are not consistent with the need for our prisons to respect the human dignity of each and every person, we call for an end to all for-profit private prisons. People being held in private prisons should be reversed immediately. We call on all levels of government to refuse to sign new contracts or to renew expiring ones with private prison corporations. Now this evening I would tell you that we are opposed not only to for-profit prisons in general, but to this immigrant prison in particular. We go further and call for an end to our present system of deportation. Several scripture verses. And you shall not oppress a stranger, since you yourself know the feelings of a stranger, for you also were strangers in the land of Egypt. Exodus 23, verse 9. God executes justice for the orphan and the widows, and shows his love for the alien by giving him food and clothing. So show your love for the alien, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. Deuteronomy chapter 10. Finally, a verse that each of all of us know, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, in the Gospel of Mark. I would say, therefore, from this, that the detention and deportation policy of ICE divides families, often separating individuals from spouses and children who are U.S. citizens. The division of families through detention and deportation places more of our citizens at risk, increases the number in poverty, and even forces many children, many of these U.S. citizens, into foster care. What we need is comprehensive and compassionate immigration reform. On detention and deportation until such policy can be developed. Presently, U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents must endure many years of separation from close family members who they want to join them in the United States. The back backlog of available visas for family members results in waits of 5, 10, 15, and more years of waiting for a visa to become available. This system is cruel and inhumane and only increases the number who live in the shadows, not wanting to endure the separation of loved ones. We call for a reduction of the pending backlog and more visas available for family reunification purposes. Until such action can be taken, detention and deportation serve only to inflict punishment and harm on families who are contributing to the economic and social well-being of our community. The city of Joliet should not participate in unjust, unproductive, economically harmful policies by allowing the building of an ICE detention center.
Before I present our next speaker, we just want to play a brief 2-minute video of exactly what these for-profit detention centers, how they work, how they're organized, real quick. Antes que se presente la próxima persona, más quiero introducir un video de 2 minutos, es muy corto y breve, que explica un poco cómo trabajan estas cárceles privadas. De un momento por ahora.
The detention of migrants is a multi-billion-dollar
one in which immigrants are traced and crimes. Benefits and profits. Corrections Corporation of America, or CCA, the GEO Group, and the Management and Training Corporation combined over 200 facilities in the nation.
With over 150,000 bed spaces for total profit of close to $5 billion per year.
Private prisons profit like a hotel. The more occupants that go in, the more money comes out.
You just sell it like you're selling cars, real estate, or hamburgers.
Private prisons rely on anti-immigrant laws that guarantee them access to fresh and
Here's how they do it. The American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, is an extreme right-wing membership organization comprised of state legislators and powerful multinational corporations, including the Corrections Corporation of America.
ALEC is the most active private prison lobbyist group pushing for anti-immigrant laws like Arizona's SB 1070.
Russell Pierce, like CCA, is an ALEC member, one with obscure ties to national white separatist neo-Nazi groups. During an ALEC meeting, CCA and Pierce crafted a model legislation that became, almost word for word, Arizona's SB 1070.
Whether people are documented or not doesn't matter.
As long as they fill the detention facilities for days, months, or even years.
SB 1070 and their copycat laws sprouting up across the country represent the perfect money machine.
That's exactly what we're trying to prevent here. I know some people say CCA stuff like won't influence policy, but they can. That's what they do. That's how they make money. That's how for private detention centers, whether it's an immigrant prison or just